The gray ghost is a fish that every flats enthusiast would love to encounter. This week, we're talking about bonefish on the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
We are the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report, back for another exciting week in the fishing world of Florida. And not to mention it's Memorial Day weekend, so time to get out your Stars and Stripes gear and head out to the water, right?
You're absolutely right, Bree. You know, Memorial Day, great time to be out on the boats. We got to remember everybody and what it stands for, right,
Yes,
Dave?
and safety. Dave,
Be safe.
what's going on this weekend?
None of this on the boat.
Water?
None of that.
I love drinking water on the
No drinking
boat.
on the boat. No drinking and driving in the boaty.
What do you have for us today at the CCA Workbench?
We're going to talk about bonefish. And plus we have the new products as always, but we're going to talk about bonefish. We're going to let Rick talk about bonefish.
Yes,
I'm going to feed him questions.
Love
Theme
it.
questions. All right, well, like he said, this week it's all about bonefish, and a lot of people I feel like want to go bone fishing and haven't really been able to, and there's a lot of secrets to it, so why don't you tell us about it?
Well, you know, the bonefish, Bree, is pretty intimidating, especially if you're doing it in the Florida Keys. Those bonefish are highly educated, but very, very rewarding. So my suggestion is whenever you want to go bone fishing, pick the peak time of year to do it, so you get lots of shots so that you can educate yourself through lots of shots.
Okay, well, someone educating us in the Casa Vieja Southeast region is Captain Jimbo Thomas. Why don't you tell us all about them bonefish, Jimbo?
You got it. Well, we do have some fantastic bonefish in here in the Southeast region, but north of Government Cut, bonefish are just an incidental catch, but then as you get further to the south, the inside and outside flats from Government Cut, South Angel, Fish Creek, and Biscayne Bay, those areas offer some of the best bone fishing in the world. Our good buddy Captain Joe Gonzalez says that most anglers who inshore fish this time of the year, they're focusing on tarpon, therefore leaving those bonefish flats free and clear for less pressured bone fishing. Now the oceanside flats around Sands Cut and then outside of LA Key, they've been holding good numbers of bonefish on the higher stages of the incoming tides, and these fish are usually pretty user-friendly with good appetites. Now, when bone fishing, you want to use 8 to 12-pound spin tackle with a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. That's your basic setup. And as for baits, crab and shrimp, those are the favorite natural baits, and you want to use a 2-0 hook and a small split shot. Or you can use 8 to 9 weight fly rods with weighted crab pattern flies, or pink or brown flathead jig and 1/8 to 1/4 ounce. That also works very well. Now, these bonefish are usually in packs of 5 to 15 fish, and when they're in groups like that, it makes them real competitive when you throw a bait at them. They want to fight for the bait, so you good chance you'll get a bite when you have a pack of fish versus just singles. The average fish is around 6 to 8 pounds, but fish up to and over 10 pounds are not uncommon in South Biscayne Bay. I got a photo here of Danny Meneses with a bonefish, and he caught that to complete a Grand Slam while fishing with Captain Joe Gonzalez last week, and what a great day.
That is
Congratulations there, Danny.
That is a great day. What else you got for us inshore, Jimbo?
Well, we got sea trout. They're still being caught in decent numbers on and around the grass flats from Rickenbacker Causeway north to Oliver Inlet. There's been lots of small fish, but there's also been fish close to 5 pounds mixed in. The bulk of these fish are being found on the flats that are holding schools of small pilchards and mullet in 4 to 8 feet of water, and they're being caught on small live pilchards or small herrings. You want to fish them under a float. A Cajun Thunder float's one of the favorites, or a 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce Bass Assassin jig head with a 3 to 4 inch gulp shrimp. The color of your gulp shrimp doesn't really seem to make any difference, at least lately. On the high tides, the fish have been on top of the grass flats. Then as the tide falls, those potholes and the edges of the flats have been productive. Now, our best offshore fishing has been along the edge of the Gulf Stream, where the blackfin tuna has been biting in depths anywhere from 120 to 250 feet of water. Best baits have been live pilchards and herrings. You want to fish them under the kite if you have enough wind. Otherwise, use flat lines, or you can slow troll them. Use 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders and 4.0 to 6.0 circle hooks. Now, we have seen a little bit of green water along the edge of the Gulf Stream, but it really hasn't seemed to affect the bite in the last couple days. But if you can find some blue water, that bite should be even better. Now, most of these blackfins have been in the 25 to 30-pound range, but I've heard of blackfins up to close to 35 pounds in the last week. The tunas have been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning and then late in the afternoon from about 3 o'clock until the sun goes down. And it seems like about an hour before the sun goes down, they really turn on then. And like always, live chumming will help bring those blackfin tunas up to the surface. And then, along with those tunas in the same areas and depths, have been a good amount of sailfish. And again, we prefer to have blue water, but they've also been popping up in the green water. We've been using live herrings and pilchards. If you got goggle eyes, those will work great. And we've been catching them on the same rigs as for the tunas, which is the light fluorocarbon leaders and the circle hooks. And just like the tunas, the best bite has been late in the afternoon. And if you can live chum, that'll really help get those sails fired up.
Hey, great report from the Casa Vieja Southeast region, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Jimbo says this weekend we should go inshore for sea trout and mangrove snappers, fish North Biscayne Bay, grass flats with small live pilchards, and then offshore, blackfin tunas, sailfish, and kingfish, fish live herring and pilchards late in the afternoon in 120 to 200 feet of water.
Before we head to the next sizzling region, Rick, coming
Yes.
up next week is the Chevy Truck Deal and Fishing Seminar in Kendall. I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
Captain Jimbo Thomas, Randy Tao, Rick, and of course myself will be at the Bauman Chevrolet on June 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. giving seminars, and get this, guys, $12,000 in truck discounts. Oh my gosh, not to mention there will be lots of food and giveaways. So if you're looking to get into a Chevy truck, which I highly recommend,
Yes.
this is a perfect opportunity to do so.
Come and see us.
Come and see us. Okay, now on to probably the most well-known place in the state to hunt for the silver ghost, the Florida Keys, with your captain, Randy Tao.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, bonefish are really popular throughout the Keys. Key Largo to Key West, you can find them. And the big difference in success and failure is timing, your conditions, and being at that right place at the right time. The tides are critical, and they're different between the bay side and the ocean side, so you really need to understand how it works. And a low rising tide is probably the most common that you're going to find these bonefish coming out of the deeper water up onto the flats. And you want to be ready with a light spinning rod, with a shrimp or a crab, or if you're really one of those go-getters and want to throw a fly rod at them, well, that's the same thing. A crab pattern's probably going to work the best for you, and you could probably get a shot at a bonefish with your fly rod, and it might not work out too good as far as the end result, but you'll certainly catch one with a bait if you do that. Now, it varies where you're going to be fishing for these fish, and the window of opportunities is small, and that's why the Florida Keys guides really pride themselves on understanding that little window right there that makes the difference between catching a bonefish and not catching a bonefish. And guys that do it all the time, it's really important if a guy is bone fishing on a regular basis, he understands where they're moving, where they are, what flats they're on, and what time they're on those flats, and that's critical. So if you want to catch a bonefish, I highly recommend one of the many guides throughout the Keys that specializes in bonefish and permit. Usually they do a couple of things, and it's well worth the money to get with these guys to show you a bonefish to catch. One of the local Islamorada guides, Captain Richard Black, he is very good at bone fishing. He fishes out of the Lorelei Marina, and he catches bonefish on a regular basis. Now, his anglers catch them on fly, they catch them on spin, and it's really kind of funny when I talk to him about his day, and he's always got a report of a bonefish. And I've got a photo of a recent fish he caught a couple of days ago here in Islamorada.
Man, that's a good-looking photo there, Randy. All right, what else you got for us inshore?
Tarpon. You know, we're in the middle of tarpon season. We don't have many in the backcountry right now. And surprisingly, the Upper Keys area, there's a certain lack of them the last few days. And I think that's because a lot of these fish are migrating to the Lower Keys around Marathon, Bahia Honda. Now, we might have a worm hatch coming up with this new moon, and the fish have been acting a little bit squirrely on the ocean side. I've been fly fishing a lot, so I've been seeing these fish going by my boat for the past week, traveling to the south, and some pretty big schools, and that's usually a key sign when something's going to happen with a worm hatch like that. Long Key Bridge, 7 Mile, they've been holding a lot of fish down there for the bait guys. And the fly fishermen, you're getting your cracks at them, but you're having to really work at it, and you'll get a lot of shots, but you got to be patient to get a bite from them. I've got a photo of Captain Randy Stallings fishing with Wake from Japan with their patience that paid off.
All right, Randy, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Navionics from your region. Now, guys, understand that Navionics this week, we're showing you 9 Mile Bank. And the reason why we want to show you this is because certainly this is the satellite overlay. But if we take a look at the next chart, this is just the nautical charts that typically come in your plotters. But because Navionics has the ability to load in sonar charts, and also viewers are able to contribute their data, we're able to upgrade the charts constantly and change them. So keep in mind that whether you work around an inlet, a jetty, or even this particular place, what this does is allows us now to have much safer boating. And the reason why is because we're able to change the sonar layers through Navionics. All right, Randy, what do we got offshore?
Well, let's talk about yellowtail. And the reef has been pretty good this past week, mainly because the offshore has been rough and windy, and we call it sporty. And when you hear that term, that usually means the waves are pretty big offshore. So if the guys want to stay on the edge of the reef where it's a little calmer, the yellowtail bite's been pretty good. You know, most of the guys take off offshore, so the reef is left alone this time of year. And if the conditions are right, and you'll hear me talk about conditions all the time, because conditions are what you have to look for and recognize to be successful for whatever you're doing. Now, a good condition for yellowtailing is having the wind and the current go in the same direction, and that's going to be like a conveyor belt. Your chum is going to go out behind the boat. It's going to bring those fish to you, and that's how it works. You want to anchor in 60 to 80 foot of water right now. You want to chum heavy. Now, be patient. Don't start fishing right away. Let the fish come up and get behind the boat where you can see them. There'll be a yellow cloud behind the boat when they get in your chum slick. That's when you want to start fishing, one rod at a time. Be patient. And no better person at doing that is Captain Eddie and Eddie, freelancecaptain.com here in Alamorada. He fishes a lot on other people's boats. He shows you how it's done. He's really good at teaching people and helping people. And I've got a photo of a catch he had a few days ago that was his limit, and they were patient, and they caught quite a few.
Those are some great yellowtails. All right, what else you have for us offshore, Randy?
You know, black grouper, I guess because of the close season we've been having the last few years, May 1st, everybody looks forward to going grouper fishing. I can't remember it being as popular as it is now, but it must be working because guys are catching them. They're having great success. There's plenty of keepers for everybody, and you're going to find these groupers on the edge of the reef, and you're also going to find them on some of the deeper wrecks. Now, it might be mixed in with a red grouper, but to target a black specifically, a live grunt, a live ballyhoo, a pilchard, those are kind of the baits of choice to get these fish to bite, and you want to fish a heavy rod. You want a rod that when you get that fish on there, you can stop him from going into the structure. And that's usually where people fail, is they're hunting elephants with a BB gun, and they don't have heavy enough tackle to stop these groupers from getting in the bottom. Now, I've got a photo of Captain George Campbell, who's the best at catching these groupers. His boat is a snapshot out of Hawks Cay Marina. He does this on a regular basis, and that's a pair of big blacks he caught a few days ago.
All right, great report, Randy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. Captain Randy says inshore tarpon fish early in the morning and late in the day around the bridges in the upper and the middle keys for the poon. And then offshore, yellowtails anchor in 60 to 80 feet of water, chum heavily. Be patient, fish one rod at a time for the best results, Bree.
Hey, that yellowtail master, Eddie and Eddie, is a great captain. He fishes with my uncle from Ohio. So
Whoa.
Great job, Eddie. All right, there are always tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. So let's take a look at what's coming up.
All right.
The world's top fly rod anglers endure a 5-day test of patience, dun dun dun, and finesse June 5th through the 10th in Islamorada at the Don Holly Tarpon Fly Tournament, the annual contest benefits the Guides Trust Foundation. Hosted by the Florida Keys Elks Lodge, the Ladies Dolphin Tournament welcomes female angler teams to compete for the highest aggregate weight of 3 dolphin fish. And now on to Andy Newman to see what featured tournaments he has to talk about this week. So go for it, Andy.
Well, hi guys. We have 2 Florida Keys dolphin angling contests to talk about as featured tournaments on today's show. Both are set for the weekend of June 2nd through the 4th. Now let's start with the original Big Pine and Lower Keys Dolphin Tournament. It's organized by the Lower Keys Chamber of Commerce, and it features more than $35,000 in cash and prizes. The Sugarloaf KOA Campground and RV Resort is tournament headquarters. Now up the Keys in Key Largo, the Skipper's Dolphin Tournament is offering more than $50,000 in cash and prizes. That includes a first place cash prize of $20,000 for the top finishing boat. More details for the Lower Keys event at lowerkeyschamber.com, and for the contest in Key Largo, go to skipperstournaments.com. And of course, always for more information on all tournaments in the Keys, go to flakeys.com.
Lean on me when you're... You said no singing tonight, but I am totally singing all the time. Okay, we haven't even begun to give you your holiday weekend report, so stay hooked as we venture into the Southwest region and see what Dave has to show us at the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques.
I'm going to show you Rick Murphy. We're talking about bonefish. I'm going to go, hey Rick, tell us about the bonefish.
Hey Rick, tell us about the bonefish. Can't
I
wait
don't
to
know
hear
nothing
it.
about no bonefish.
We're getting ready to see.
Fake it till you make it.
I know
Dave.
they make good marlin baits.
All right, guys, we'll be right back.
No, he didn't. No, he
They're
didn't.
shiny.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet. Q-Max. Maximum saltwater protection. And Sea Sucker. Get pumped.
Every truck guy has their own way of conveying powerful.
Yeah, boy.
Kind of looks like a monster coming to eat you.
Holy smokes. That is awesome. Strong. You got the basic and you got the beefy.
I just think it looks mean.
Incredible.
No way. I'm getting goosebumps.
It's the Chevy Memorial Day sales event. Find your tag and get over $9,300 total value on select Silverado crew cabs when you finance with GM Financial. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower 4-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable 4-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower 4-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Welcome back, guys and gals. Let's now take a look at the FWC news and notes. June 10th, there's a ladies fishing clinic in St. George Island. And June 24th, a kids fishing clinic in Cape Canaveral. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now it's time for rigs and techniques.
Well, we're
Feel
here
much
at the
better.
CCA workbench. Of course you do.
Feel much
And rigs and techniques we're going to talk about, but you got some bonefish
Well, you know,
facts.
that's because I don't know a lot about bonefish. I decided to look them up, you know, and I probably could tell you two things tonight that most people don't realize about bonefish.
What's that?
One is that they have a lung, like a tarpon does. They have a little lung they can get, you know, suck in some air if they need to, because they're backcountry fish. Also, they're related to eels, just like tarpon, because they go through the leptocephalus stage when they're like a long, a little larvae. Instead of going from an egg to a little fish-looking thing, they go through another stage called the leptocephalus, where they become like a leaf, like a real thin. It means narrow head. And what they turn like an eel and tarpon do the same thing.
Cool.
Which I had
did not know that.
I had no idea.
Good research,
yeah,
Dave.
so, and you know, bonefish here in Florida, you know, our fish probably get, you know, 14 pounds, you know, this big one. But if you go and fish in some of the deeper places like Hawaii and even Bermuda, some of the deep water, they really big bonefish, 20 pounds and upwards. Which probably, I wouldn't doubt, if you fished in the deep water off of the Keys for bonefish, you could probably catch big bonefish out there, but nobody would ever do it because that's just not where we do it.
You'd think that would maybe potentially be
Potentially,
an
there could be some in there.
catch.
Yeah, yeah. And they can live to be 19 years old.
Whoa.
And that's a long time for a fish.
That is.
You know, to live 19 years, except for a deep water fish, they can live forever, you know, it seems like. But, you know, for a shallow water fish, that's, you know, they can live up to 19 years old. Very tidal, like everybody's been saying. You know, they come up on the tide, you know, come up onto the flats during the higher tides and head to the deeper water during low tides. And they use that conical snout and their little piggy, you know, face to dig down in the sand and get all the crabs and shrimp and crustaceans that we know that they feed on. But you guys like to fish on them, trying to catch them with flies. It's like trying to catch them with a topwater plug almost.
Well, you know,
it's hard.
Dave, it is really one of the sought after fish on fly.
Correct.
Very difficult at times, specifically, you know, where the fish are really big. The one thing that you need to understand is that guys are able to fish for them all over the world because you don't have bait.
Right.
Using different types of jigs. We showed one in Jimbo's region, a little flat diamond head jig. Here's another one that's been handmade. And if you notice, it has a little weed guard, but it's a lead head, splashes very light.
Called a skimmer jig a lot of times.
Yes, exactly. And all of them have weed guards. This particular one is made for fishing in the muds, and that's why it's dark in color, so the bonefish can see it.
I gotcha.
But when it comes to flies, Dave, I'll show you a couple real cool little deals here. You know, a lot of times the fly needs to have the ability to not sink so fast. So a lot of the fly tires are making these things out of deer hair.
Right.
The deer hair has a tendency to be where it wants to float.
It's more buoyant.
Exactly.
Stays in the strike zone longer.
Exactly. If you notice, almost all the flies have a weed guard of some sort so that they can be worked really, really slow. Now, at times, what we do is we will fish different types of patterns. A lot of stuff looks like crabs. This is a crab pattern, another type of crab. These have a little bead eyes, or they come with little plastic eyes to give them a look. Now, the key to, in a lot of situations, is to make sure, again, having weed guard, a light little hook, but a lot of times this material also helps act as a weed guard. It has that
'cause it's got so
crab
much bulk.
silhouette, which is really perfect. And then at times we'll also use things that look a little bit like shrimps. You know, this is, we call this the red-headed stepchild. It looks like a little shrimp. It's an old, like Crazy Charlie.
Right.
And then we also use the Merkin style of flies, which is a very, very popular
Yeah, you were
fly
telling me
that
you were
we
tying
had.
your crabs different.
Well, this is a Merkin size for a bonefish. You can also have it for a permit. Now, this is just one little trip that I do. I took that same pattern, but I always felt that with a floating line, I tie or have my tires tie the lead eyes on the back side of the material. And the reason why is with a floating line, this has a tendency to sink like this. This, with the lead on this side and you let it go, the line being tied here, it's gonna sink more natural, like a crab would diving for the bottom. So that's just a little Murphy extra little tip.
Yeah, it floats away from the line.
Yeah, and a couple weeks ago we talked about how to rig shrimp for tarpon, and we showed how you would use a crab. And the shrimp in the summer are real small, so a lot of guys to go towards a dime size or a nickel size crab, and you throw it on light monofilament, 8-pound, 6-pound, with maybe even 10. Mark Croker, my friend, loves using 10.
So that's the same thing you do for a bonefish.
Yeah, you hook it in the side just like you would for a tarpon, the same way.
Well, thank you
Hey
very
man,
much.
thanks for putting me on deck here. I like this.
Hey, yeah, why not?
All right, Bree, speaking of
Wow.
deck, where are we going next?
Speaking of being on deck, well, Captain Ronnie Houston in the Bell's Southwest region has lots of options for all you anglers this weekend, so listen up.
Well, first, Bree, great times, great people at the Homestead CCA banquet last week. A really good time. But you know what? We got to thank the sponsors. And once you get behind the scenes and hear what guys like Rick Murphy and Joe Niebuhr do to help the cause for our next generation, it's really inspiring. So I want to say thanks to all that attended. But we're going to talk about the tarpon this week. You know, according to Captain Denny Latham, the tarpon bite has been tough in the last week, especially with all the winds we've been having and this front we're having pushed through. But according to Captain Denny Latham, as soon as these winds start to subside, concentrate your efforts in Boca Grande Pass, the surrounding beaches, Pine Island Sound, and the upper Charlotte Harbor area. But now also, if you're trying to fish these fish during the day, you know, generally the wind dies down at night. You can also fish the bridge spans up in the northern end. Fish will tend to be along the shadow lines. Stay back and let your baits drift towards them. Try not to get too close. You know, the tide really doesn't matter along the bridges as long as you have good moving current. Now, if it's too slack due to the wind blowing against the tide, the bite's going to be a little bit tougher, so I suggest that's a night you shouldn't be going. But the baits have been live herring, mullet and crabs for the fish on the outside, free-lined or under a cork, and along the bridges, 4 to 6 inch swim baits, the bass assassin, didapper, and black shad, or a simple 4-inch shrimp imitation in whiter glow. And I got a prime example of nice fish that was caught with Captain Danny Latham in the northern end of the region. That's the type of fish they're catching right now once the weather gets a little better. Now, also on the inshore side, we're going to talk about the snook. Concentrate from Lossman's River to Pavilion Key. Concentrate your efforts on the outer Gulf Islands. Now, as long as we have moderate weather, fish to fish on the higher stages of the tide along the mangroves using live pilchards, cut mullet, and cut ladyfish have been working well. But on the lower stages of the tide along the edges, oyster bar points, and areas of hard black bottom combined with potholes, use silver spoons and a variety of walk-the-dog lures in bone chartreuse, bone and chrome, and also in the mix of the artificial topwater bite, a variety of trout are being caught up to 29 inches mixed in with the snook. And I've got another picture of a nice snook caught with a couple clients at Denny Latham up in the northern end of the region. Now on the offshore side, got to wait for these winds to subside, but the red grouper bite from Stump Pass to Sanibel, concentrate on fishing hard bottom with bait suspended above it in depths of 65 to 85 feet of water. Anchor up where you see the bait marking and drop down live pinfish, grunts, or cut herring, sardines, and squid. Now, some of the smaller pieces have been holding solid fish. If you get into some of the areas where you're catching smaller fish, try to use a larger bait. If you have no luck, continue to move around in and around those depths for solid keeper fish. Also on the offshore side, the lane and the mangrove snappers. Depths right now you want to concentrate in are 55 to 75 feet, fishing wrecks and ledges by chumming block chum or simply cut pilchards or herring. Once the fish are located, flatline or add enough weight to where the fish are in the water column, and then use cut shrimp, herring, squid in small pieces. Now, if we have moderate weather, guys, get ready for the bite with the full moon approaching. Before I close, a very special thanks from the Southwest region to the past and present military for trying to do the best they can to keep us safe so our families can enjoy a wonderful weekend like we have coming up. So when you run into one of them, show them your appreciation.
Hey, Ronnie, thank you so much for attending the CCA banquet in Homestead. I do have a question for you. You know, we've got some significant wind coming. What do you think that's going to do to your snook bite?
Well, you know, offshore and inshore, it's going to make things a little bit tougher. But I can tell you one thing. If the wind's blowing out of the east, northeast, like it's supposed to be towards the weekend, and it's blowing pretty good, I've been catching a lot of fish right now in the Everglades backcountry due to not a lot of rain, low water levels from the glades. Concentrate on the windy points, feeder creeks, and also shorelines that have a lot of wind mixed in with current. Should be a good bite. Just throwing some hard artificial baits. 3 to 4 inch lip plug.
Great tip. All right, Ronnie, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Bell Southwest region. Inshore, trout, Estero Bay Area from the intercoastal towards the east wall along the grass flats in 2 to 4 feet of water using popping corks with a shrimp or a pilchard. And then offshore, permit. Goodland to Wiggins Pass, fishing wrecks, towers, and artificial reefs. And some may have fish really close, so keep that in mind. Use those live crabs when you find those guys.
Man, Ronnie is just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Always on point.
Yep,
Love
always.
him. So good.
Yes.
All right, we're headed to you next, Northeast and Northwest region, so make sure you're hanging around to find out how to get them to the boat this weekend. We'll be right back on the Chevy Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
Boom. Boom.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I think it's time to change my battery. Now you do it.
Get AC Delco batteries at Bennett Auto Supply. Plus, get $10 off your first online purchase when you register at BennettAuto.com.
Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, but not alone.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're going to get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle. When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value.
U.S. News Best Car for the Money. 10 Best blah, blah, blah.
2016. Only about 90 more to go.
That's a lot of awards.
Find your tag and get 20% below MSRP on select Malibu vehicles in stock. That's $5,200 on this Chevy Malibu. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Remember, for weekly reports from our 9 captains, you can go to our website at ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at Official Insider. And Captain Rick Murphy, of course.
Of course.
All the time, but of course.
But of course.
Okay, we always love seeing our Northeast region captain, Tommy
Yeah, we
Derringer. So Tommy, when you go bone fishing, do you turn up the honky tonk or what?
Lots of honky tonk. You know, I'd love to give you guys a great bonefish report, but you know what? We don't have bonefish here in the Strike Zone Northeast region, but we do have the redneck bonefish, as we like to call them, or my favorite fish, the redfish.
Honky tonk.
So you know, we've got a great redfish bite happening right now in the region. You know, I've been talking about the topwater bite the past few weeks, and that topwater bite is getting better and better as things are warming up. Now, with water temperatures hovering around 80 degrees, and with more and more finger mullets showing up every day, the redfish are going to be crushing topwater plugs this weekend. We have an early morning incoming tide, and the redfish are going to be pushing up along with the bait to the edge of the grass lines on the flats throughout the region. The flats from the 206 bridge south to Matanzas Inlet have been holding a good number of those redfish this week on that incoming tide. We also have a negative low tide late in the afternoon this weekend, and that's going to have those redfish pushed out along the ICW and bunched up in those deeper creek holes. There's been quite a few slot redfish along the banks of the ICW from Beach Boulevard Bridge in Jacksonville all the way up to Mayport. Look for those areas where the finger mullet are holding, that's where you're going to find the redfish. Live and cut mullet have been working great, as well as live shrimp and mud minnows for those low tide reds. Now, I got a picture here. This is our friend Lisa Fitzgerald with a nice redfish that she caught with me last week. You know, we tagged that fish along with 3 others for the CCA Star Tournament and released them in St. Augustine. So if you haven't already signed up for that tournament, do it and get out there and catch one of those fish.
Good job, Tommy. Good job. I love it.
All right, you know what? Stay inshore with all the wind we've been having. The water, it's been a little churned up and murky. But if you can find some clean water, the trout bite has been pretty good. Most of that clean water is going to be closer to the inlets this week on the incoming tide. The docks near Mayport and St. Augustine inlets, they're holding some trout as well as the shell banks along the ICW right near those inlets. I spoke with tournament angler Charlie Dellinger, and he said that they've been catching some big trout around the Dames Point area in Jacksonville, as well as further towards downtown if you can find that clean water. Topwater plugs and plastics are working well early, and then a live mud minnow or shrimp once the sun gets up. I got another photo. This is Chuck Dellinger with his big 7+ pound gator trout he caught on a topwater plug this past weekend in the Florida Lure Anglers Tournament out of Fernandina. If you want to become a better inshore fisherman, I would highly, highly suggest joining the Florida Lure Anglers Club. Some of the best fishermen around are members, and they're really great, helpful people in that club.
All right, let's go offshore.
All right, you know, with all the anglers targeting the dolphin the last few weeks, there have been quite a few nice sailfish caught up in the mix. I spoke with Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he tells me they've been seeing and catching quite a few, including some doubles and even some triples on some of his recent trips. Captain Jason says the sails, they're moving north, and he's been finding most of them along a good color change. He says every day's been a little different. That color change has been in 160 foot one day and in 600 foot the next, depending on the wind direction and speed. Jason did say that if you're really going to target the sailfish, you want to pull a dredge or two and probably slow down just a little bit from your typical mahi trolling speed. I got another picture. This is a killer action shot from Captain Jason with one of those sails they caught out of St. Augustine aboard the J-Hook. Now, also offshore, I spoke to Captain Billy Hunsicker from Endless Summer Charters, and he tells me he's been on a good mango bite this week. He's fishing natural bottom ledges from 120 to about 140 feet. The best baits have been live cigar minnows or sardines. He said you're going to want to use a long 8 to 10 foot fluorocarbon leader and fish those baits on the bottom. Captain Billy also mentioned that, you know, if you're out there, the African pompano have been in the same areas, they're eating the same baits, they're just a little bit more up in middle of the water column. Now, those mangrove snapper are averaging 5 to 8 pounds, but Billy said expect those fish to be bigger over the next couple of months, and he did get one this week that was over 14 pounds, and Rick, like you would say, that's a big snapper.
That is a big snapper. You know, but what's even bigger, and I'm so happy we have you back on FaceTime, and the reason why
He's got happy feet.
You know what? It's so crazy that a daggum phone cover was the reason why we were having audio problems. That's so crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. I'm glad to be back.
All right, glad to have you back. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from Tommy's Northeast region. Inshore, redfish and trout on topwater Rapala skidder walk plugs at first light along the grass edges throughout the region. And then offshore, mangrove snappers in 120 to 140 foot depths fish the natural bottom ledges with live cigar minnows.
Minos and schnapper. Those are your term.
They are.
Yeah. All right, well, we heard Tommy talk about it, but we're going to mention it again. Every week we talk about CCA, and guys, be on alert because all coastal counties will now have star-tagged redfish.
Yes.
Woo!
Here we go.
Here we go. CCA Florida Star begins this Saturday, May 27th for 101 days of fishing. Remember, you have to be registered to win, and the first winning star-tagged redfish angler gets their pick of either the GMC truck or one of the amazing boat packages available. CPR divisions include non-tagged species for inshore and offshore, youth, ladies, kayak, fly, and more. So there is something for everyone.
Yes, there is.
For more info, head to ccafloridastar.com and happy fishing.
Come on, guys. If you catch one, just call the number on the tag. Put him in the live well and do it right, and you'll win big prizes.
And don't eat him. Okay, the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region is gonna get its party on this weekend if Captain Hageman has anything to do with it, and fishing on. Hey, Hag.
We don't have bonefish. Sorry.
That's all right. So let's talk about what you do have. Come on.
We got redfish. I got a good redfish report right now. Captain J.B. Charters out of Apalachicola has really stepped up and given me a lot of reports. I want to put a big thank you out there to him. But like I said, Captain J.B. of J.B. Charters out of Apalachicola Bay reports right now the redfish bite is picking up. They're mainly staying right now along the marsh points and edges and shallow water oyster bars. J.B. said they're biting good right now on 1/8-ounce, quarter-ounce spoons, and the water depth in around 1 to 4 feet of water. And most of the fish right now are that slot-sized fish with the occasional oversized fish. And I'm also getting some reports a little further south, down towards Tarpon Springs and Clearwater, that Caladesi Island area. I'm getting some more good red fishing reports out of there. You want to fish there on the top of the tide. Most of the fish there are going to be upper-sized slot redfish and fish cut baits right up against the mangrove shoreline. And I've got a photo of a nice redfish caught with Captain JB on one of his recent charters.
All right, great photo, Hag. All right, what else we got inshore? Some trout, maybe?
Yep, we got a great trout bite going on right now in the middle half of my region. Anywhere from Hernando Beach right now to Keaton Beach has been strong right now in that 4 to 6 foot of water. You want to fish over the grass flat, broken bottom. In the morning, you want to start with a topwater bait like a skitterwalk in the moss back color, or even that orange back color I like a lot as that sun's coming up. And then once it gets, that sun picks up a little bit and you want to move to a jig and get a little deeper in the water column. Nuclear chicken and the turbo shad are working really good, either under a cork or without. A pinfish under a Cajun Thunder is also a great bait and hard to resist that noise for a trout. A trout really keys in on noise. So when you're popping that rattle cork or popping that popping cork, they're going to tone into that, especially with this blow we're about to have. The water's going to dirty up. You might need that little extra sound to get the fish to come in and get that bait. After this blow goes through, it's going to take a while for the water to clean up a little bit.
Those are good tips. Let's go offshore, bub.
Gag grouper report right now. Now, Gag's open on the 1st of June, but everybody I've been talking to that's fishing offshore right now has been catching a lot of gag grouper and some big ones. Right now, you want to target that 70 to 120 foot. Fish rock piles, ledges, pinfish, cut sardines, standard bottom rig, heavy gear right now. A lot of big fish being caught with a closure. They've all grown up, so you need to take some big gear out there. A lot of fish reported up to 25 pounds, and the averages are bigger than last year, I've been hearing. So remember, that season doesn't open again until the 1st of June, but we got plenty of them out there, and they're in that water depth. Got something a little different we're going to talk about. We got sharks right now, and if you like hunting toothy critters and something that looks dangerous or like jaws or sharkweed, right now is the time to go shark fishing. We've got a population overload, and they're exploding anywhere from inshore to offshore. Anywhere from 40 feet of water on out to 120 feet of water over wrecks, reefs. Anything that's got bait on it right now has got spinners, black tips, sharp nose sharks on all the offshore stuff. Inshore, we've got this tarpon migration in full swing right now, and we've got a bunch of mature bull sharks and hammerheads, and these big egg-peck predators are in here after the tarpon, which is basically a big sardine. And they're after chasing them. The bull sharks are anywhere from 7 feet to 12 feet long. They hunt in packs usually up to, anywhere from 2 to 3 to up to 20 fish. Their hammerheads are more singled out, and they usually hunt alone. They're anywhere up to 14 feet, but a lot of reports of, some 10, 12 footers cruising the beach looking from anywhere from Boca Grande all the way up to Homosassa. I've been getting reports of them hunting down schools. Now, to sharkfish, you don't really need a boat. A lot of guys do it from either the beach. They'll take a kayak and row their baits out and get in a little deeper water. You can fish on the Skyway Fishing Pier, on any of the bridges, or if you have a boat, you can go out and fish that too. But for these big apex predators, and I've got a couple interesting photos that a lot of people don't get to see all the time.
Cool.
The first one was taken by Captain Nick Fisher down here in Captiva, and it's a tarpon trying to get away from a bull shark.
Whoa.
Wow, that's awesome.
What's the other one you got? Oh.
I got a big hammer eating about 140-pound tarpon, so you can kind of adjust and see how big that shark actually is. fish is 6 feet long.
Oh, man. All right, bad news for the tarpon. Great shark photos. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Northwest region. Inshore, snook on the beaches and passes use pinfish and grunts for bait. And then offshore, mangrove snappers can be found on the high relief structures in 25 feet of water and out.
Dun, 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 dun. That's what they're all doing over there.
They're just waiting for a tarpon to make a mistake.
I guess we won't be in the water taking pictures with your tarpon,
Not
right?
this way.
Not this time. All right, if you're fishing the Central West region this weekend, get excited because we're casting to you next. But first, we're seeing what Dave has to show off at the CCA workbench for new products.
New products.
What you got over there?
From bass to billfish.
From bass to billfish.
We've got
wow.
it. I
Super
like
cute.
it. I like it.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. Bass to fish. New stuff.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Soft Science, supreme comfort footwear. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Real legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Hey, how do you like your contender? How do I like my contender? What's not to like?
Dude, I just saw a contender, and man, I gotta give me one.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench,
Yes, we are.
and we always talk about new products during this show.
Yep.
So
We're going to
let's just
start
get
off
right
with
to
these
it.
Bagley B1s and B2s over here with these little square plugs, you know.
Mhm.
These are square lip plugs. These are mainly for bass fishing, and you know, but they're made out of balsa wood.
Yes, sir.
And they, you know, you're used to crank into cover and whatnot, and they bounce around. That little square bill bounces off stuff because he runs, you know, with the hooks up backwards, so he's bouncing around, and you bounce him through there and you stop and let him float back up real slow, and then a bass will come and eat them. Those things are really great for, you know, for any kind of actually predatory fish that's going to be hanging out in the weeds and stuff.
Wobble, wobble.
Wobble, 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 and really good strong hooks on there, so you don't have to worry about changing them out or nothing.
You know what's
Bagley
great
B1s and B2s, Bagley Bait Company.
What's great about crankbaits is you just throw it out and reel it back like a spoon, man.
It's very easy to use, and it's a good searching bait.
Yes, sir.
This is a Halco skim stick. Now Halco, they make their stuff in Australia. They're an Australian company from the western side, and everything in Australia's got teeth, so everything they make is made to withstand incredible destruction. You know, they have really good strong eyes on them. They're always through wired. This is a different kind of deal though. This is called the the skim stick.
Skim stick.
And what it does is, see this big thing on the front.
Big lip.
Yeah, it doesn't go under the water. It skims across the top and looks like a long-bodied, like a long tom or a garfish or something on the top of the water. And you can troll that thing, slow troll it, or you can cast it. That's cool. and use it. And that thing stays up and skitters across the top of the water and
it's
imitates.
like a planer in his face.
Exactly. He's got a planer on his face. He planes up, and he's weighted in the back, so you can throw the thing a long way. It's got the single hooks on it. Good for mackerels, dolphins. Anything that swims by is going to want to eat that.
Dave.
All right, now these are some skilla lures. A guy named Danny Phillips makes these. He makes everything from great big lures like to chase marlin with.
Right.
There's a super plunger head here,
right.
And that's a cone face with a jets drilled in it.
Cone face.
Yeah. It's got a concave face and it's got jets drilled in it.
But Dave, I know you like little lures.
I like these little ones. These are why I have them on here.
Elephants eat peanuts.
Yes, they do. Everything eats these, actually. Dolphins, wahoos, mackerels. He comes in all different little heads. They're small, but they put a really good profile. Really good profile when you're pulling these things. A bigger profile than they are. You can run them with a ballyhoo, or you can simply put a hook back here on a nice piece of cable, and you'll probably catch fish no matter what you do.
They are sexy.
Things, very nice looking Mylar little lures here.
Yeah, man.
Skilla lures, ½ ounce to up to a little larger.
What else you got for us tonight,
Well,
Dave?
I've got this is a Calusa cast net. We had some cast nets on last week, and this is the Calusa version. This guy's been making cast. He's the guy I told you to go and check it out, the video where I learned how to throw
a cast net.
I've been throwing them a different way, and then I found this way, and that's how I throw them now. But he's got reinforced nylon up at the top and at the bottoms. He's got a real nice soft, flexible material now that he's using for the weights, so that the thing really sucks to the bottom.
Right.
He's got 120-pound braille lines running through it, so you're not going to bust those, and a pound and a half of weight per foot.
Right.
So it's going to get down to the bottom and stay on the bottom and keep your stuff. This is a 3/8 ounce, a 3/8 inch mesh, so it's perfect for just about everything.
Mullet, big threadies.
Yep, and it's 10-footer, so it opens up pretty wide.
I can't wait for you to show us how to throw this one day.
Well, we can do that. I threw it the other day in the studio.
I know.
It opens up. I know how to open up.
By God.
I know how to open them up.
All right. What are the other things you got here,
Well,
Dave?
the last thing we got here is we got some really cool release flags from the artist, Jean Eastman. She's been making these things.
I could fly this one today.
Right, you're right. That's a nice tarpon one.
We catch a big one today.
She makes tarpon, sailfish. This is the Stars and Stripes sailfish. She makes a Stars and Stripes marlin. And when you catch a game fish, you fly your flag and tell everybody, that you caught a nice one and let it go. These are made out of quick dry nylon. They got reinforced grommets made right here in the USA by Jean Eastman. Right. Release flags, JeanEastman.com.
And everybody can go to our website to rehatch all of this. They can just go
you can
there
watch
and
it
we have
again.
a segment and they can click on it. All right, Bree.
And again and again.
And again and
we
again
need to
and
click
again.
on to another
You
region.
can fly those flags this weekend for Memorial Day weekend. Woo! Stars and Stripes. All right, Captain Page in the Startron Central West region is all rigged up and ready to take you fishing. What's showing up for Memorial Day, Pagey?
Standing by to stand by. You know what, Rick and Bree, we may not have any bonefish in the Startron Central West region, but we do have snook. And I cannot remember a year when they have been so plentiful and abundant and willing to cooperate and bite. So to the south, the snooks are loaded in the passes from Gasparilla Pass north to Englewood, which is Stump Pass. Fish the early morning incoming tide or the late afternoon high outgoing tide with live freeline pilchards, pinfish, or grunts if you can get them, also known as pigfish on the East Coast. As far as artificials go, throw topwater bone super spooks in and around the mullet schools in the mouth of Catfish Creek and also to the north off Rattlesnake Key and Emerson Point. Don't be afraid to rig up a 4-inch saltwater assassin elite shiner, which is a little bit narrower profile than the sea shad, in the Mama 14-carat pattern rigged on a 1/4-ounce silver assassin jig head. Remember, you guys, water temperatures have rocketed up in the 80s. Handle them with care. Release them. They're out of season. I've got a snook photo tonight of a South Carolina man, Furman Brown of the Southern Norfolk Railroad.
All right. What else you got for me, bub, tonight?
Tarpon, one of your favorites. You know what? With the tarpon bite in full swing, the only question is how do you want to catch them? First tactic, idle down that beach like you and I have done together. North or south, really doesn't matter. Just pick a direction and head. Look for slow-rolling groups of fish. Approach as much quietly as you can, preferably on your trolley. Cast free-lined or cork crabs or free-line threads or cork threads ahead of the fish. And then the other pattern is afternoon outgoing tide, especially that's what we have this whole rest of this week, is get on that back sides of the passes or in the passes. In the pass, you're going to want to drift a free-line crab. On the back side, you're going to want to anchor up and float a corked pass crab out with the current. And then the last pattern is nighttime around any of our pass bridges and jetties like New Pass, Longboat Pass, or the Venice Jetty. I got a photo tonight of Cody Ricetta of DNR Automotive with a nice tarpon he got the other morning with his best friend, Captain Larry Maroney.
All right, let's go offshore, Pop.
The permit bite remains consistent with lots of nice 12 to 25 pounders holding on wrecks and reefs in that 7 to 11 mile range throughout the entire region. Don't be afraid to use that spot lock feature on your trolling motor to keep you in place. Got a photo tonight. Captain R.C. Gilliland of G-Force out of Siesta Key with one of his happy clients and a nice permit. And finally, mangrove snapper with the new moon tides approaching. Look for the mangs to fire off on all your nearshore reefs and hard bottom areas in that 40 to 60 feet live pilchards or pinfish, and a mixture of cut sardines and chum will keep the bite strong. Don't forget, get you a Chevy truck.
All right, Paige, got a question for you. What are you going to do this weekend?
This weekend, the Mullet Boys are having the annual spot tournament for redfish for the Gator Wilderness kids camp. But you know how hard it is to find a redfish. I think I'm going to go tarpon fishing.
All right, I love it. Well, take Lady Di. You go enjoy the weekend. Go early, come back early, and that way you don't get too hot. All right?
All right. You guys have a good weekend, too. See you, Bree. See you, Dave.
Bye,
all right,
Paige.
we're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. Inshore mangrove snappers, nice mangs are holding on the Venice jetties, as well as the rocks and docks in Sarasota's Big Pass. And then offshore red groupers, 22 to 30-inch reds, are holding on hard bottom areas off of Longboat Key in 75 to 100 feet of water.
Oh, we are making the rounds here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. And next up, we're jumping into the Central East and Panhandle regions. So get ready with your pens and paper, or just open your notes on your phone. We'll be right back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Startron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
Every truck guy has their own way of conveying powerful.
Yeah, boy. Kind of looks like a monster coming to eat you. Holy smokes.
That is awesome. Strong.
You got the basic and you got the beefy.
I just think it looks mean.
Incredible.
No way. Getting goosebumps.
It's the Chevy Memorial Day sales event. Find your tag and get over $9,300 total value on select Silverado crew cabs when you finance with GM Financial. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Flagler Construction Equipment is your certified Takeuchi equipment dealer, servicing 55 counties in Florida. With Takeuchi, you get brute strength combined with bulletproof durability. That means low downtime and optimal production. Flagler Construction Equipment is the partner for all your Takeuchi sales, service, and rental needs, and your first and last stop for legendary customer service and support. Pros know Takeuchi. Get to know Flagler Construction Equipment by stopping by one of our 6 locations or visit us on the web at www.flaglertakeuchi.com.
If you want to know what's swimming around in the Bell's Central East region, Jim Ross has it all. Do you get a bonefish bite up there, Jim?
Well, no, they're really not a targetable species up here, Bree. You know, we do get a few, but not enough to really say that they're targetable.
That's okay.
The guys that are, targeting pompano and whiting often catch them in the surf, but we have redfish, and really, redfish do exactly what bonefish do. They tip and tail all through our shallow lagoon waters, just like a bonefish would down in the Keys or the Bahamas, but they generally aren't nearly as spooky. Now, anglers want to slowly pull on the flats because that's the best way to find reds that are actually nose down, tail up. They're searching for crabs and shrimp and all that kind of stuff that bury themselves in the sand. So what you really want to do is you want to try and target these fish with something that they're trying to eat. The 4-inch saltwater assassin, in my opinion, that shrimp cocktail that they make, is one of the best baits that you can possibly use. And I typically rigged it on a 4-aught wide gap worm hook, and that way it's weedless, and you can sight cast at a tailing and tipping fish, or your fish that are cruising just over the grass or sand flats, whenever you are fishing in that less than 2 feet of water. And the best way to rig it is like that because it glides through the water and right into the path of the fish, and that's when they usually run up there and hit it and just do exactly what you want them to do, just run up there and crush that thing. And I've got a photo of a redfish that did exactly that. When I was out with Brian Gorski and Dan Askins from CCA, we were tagging redfish for the Star CCA tournament, and this is one of the fish that hit that lure with that specific that gliding presentation that I was talking about with that saltwater assassin shrimp cocktail. Now, the other species that we have this week is speckled trout, and we're still getting pretty good numbers of decent-sized trout from 2 to 8 pounds in the south end of the Mosquito Lagoon, and actually some they've moved up into the middle of the Mosquito Lagoon here in the last 2 days. So you want to throw some bigger, brighter colored baits for them. The skitterwalks work really good in the morning. That bone chartreuse color is really hot right now. And then the 5-inch soft plastic swim baits that Assassin makes, they make a dye dapper and they also make a Boss shiner. And those 2 baits imitate the mullet very, very, very well. And you want to put them on a VMC HDWG hook, and that's heavy-duty wide gap, HDWG. And I'm running it on a 5-aught, or sometimes if I'm running that Boss shiner on a 6-aught size hook. And those things worked around the mullet pods are fantastic. Now, really good places this week to look, Turtle Pen, solid bite going on in there. Max Hope Creek, another solid bite going on in there. And then the flats between the Whale Tail Flat and the Pelican Island area, that whole area right now is really fishy for big trout and also for redfish. Now, with those baits, you want to make a really long cast with the wind at your back, and you should be able to get a giant gator trout this Memorial Day weekend if you guys and gals follow that recipe. Now, switching offshore, we've had a flounder bite on and off, and it's been a little difficult to get on those flounders sometimes because we have had some wind lately. But for you guys and gals that are going out this weekend, outside of Canaveral in particular, the flounder are holding around schools of croakers, and you'll mark the croakers or other small bait fish on the bottom, and then the croakers are actually hanging around them. So look for them around the mouth of the port, up on the ship's channel buoys, out on the southeast shoal, and even along the buoys from D-Can all the way up to B-Can as you're going north along the shoal that is about at the 3-mile limit. Now, mud minnows, small croakers, and mahara are all working really good. But I'll tell you, if you can get some live finger mullet, that seems to be working best. And you want to rig them on about a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce jig head or a sliding sinker rig. And those flatfish are running 2 to 4 pounds right now. Now, our other species offshore is king mackerel. And they've been showing up in better numbers this week. 70 to about 120 feet is where you want to look for them. And you can slow troll with naked ballyhoo, sardines, pogies, or pilchards. Put them on a wire stinger rig. You can pull those ballyhoo a little bit faster if you want to also look for some dolphin and tuna. Just put them with a chin weight, but keep them naked if you can. You seem to be getting better bites on the naked baits than you are on the baits with skirts on them right now. Now, a small duster will work, but that way it doesn't overpower the baits. But I tell you what, you don't want to hide that bait completely because the kingfish are running about 10 to 20 pounds, and they've been very particular about what they've been eating this week, guys.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the sea sucker hotspots from the Central East region. Inshore, speckled trout in the Mosquito Lagoon use live pigfish, skitterwalk plugs, and 5-inch assassin swim baits near the pods of mullet. And then offshore, dolphin, tuna, and sailfish. Anglers dragging ballyhoos should find dolphin, tuna, sailfish on the western edge of the Gulf Stream. So you know what, Bree?
What?
Today we were down in Isla Mirada and it's blowing 25.
Poor thing.
So we're standing there in the Pathfinder, fishing out of the back. Fly rod 12 weight. Dapoon swims by, got a guy from Montana, Duckworth. His name's Kyle Duckworth. He's a real young gun, smoking caster.
Yeah.
Throws the fly over there, strip, strip, strip. 165 pounder comes up, eats it. I can't wait to make those posts, show that video on Instagram.
Oh,
it's
man,
the bomb.
I did see the video. It was pretty sick. Everyone in Montana is
so
going to be
cool.
super jealous.
This
Mr.
dude, he's
Duckworth.
ruined. He's ruined.
All right, in the Yeti Panhandle region, bonefish really are a ghost, but I know Pat Deneen will be telling y'all who will definitely be showing themselves this weekend. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, I can count on my toes the number of panfish caught off, or bonefish caught off the Panhandle. But the latest one that I know of was caught just this spring in Warren Bayou in Panama City. But we do have trout, and the trout fishing right now is good throughout the Panhandle. They're on the grass in 3 to 5 feet of water, early in the morning and late in the afternoon. And the best locations tend to be where the grass has some deep water nearby where those fish can slide down into some deep water refuge midday. So focus on the flats outside of the mouths of bayous. Indian Bayou, Joe's Bayou are prime areas, as are the grass flats in Santa Rosa Sound where those fish can get up on the grass flat and then fall down into that intercoastal waterway during the midday. The best bites first hour and a half, and maybe the last hour of daylight. But if we have an overcast day, that could extend that bite. Live baits like live shrimp, menhaden filters are usually going to outfish the artificial baits. You can fish those baits either afloat, free line them, or use a lightweight on a Carolina rig. But if you want to specifically target those bigger trout, a live croaker or a live mullet, basically the bigger live baits, or just go with a topwater bait like a skitterwalk or a top dog mirror lure. Those big trout are deadly, or those baits are deadly on those big trout. And there's a photo there. That's Ben Zuma at Fort Walton Beach. And he caught that trout early in the morning just this past week in Santa Rosa Sound. It looks like he was casting a skitterwalk or a Zara spook, and that's a nice trout right there.
It sure is. All right, what else you got for us inshore, Pat?
And the tarpon, Rick, are starting to show up throughout the region. There are in good numbers on the eastern part of our region over in Apalachicola. The pogies have showed up there in a big way, and once the pogies showed up, the tarpon have as well. You're going to find those pogies around Indian and West Passes and also along the beaches of St. Vincent Island, weather permitting. So use a cast net, get a well full of bait. You don't necessarily have to keep them alive. But fish those baits around those bait schools. And over in Apalachicola, you can get away with a large circle hook and a heavy leader, maybe 100-plus pounds, because of that dirty water. But elsewhere in the Panhandle, the schools of fish are starting to show up along our beaches. I've been seeing them here in Destin and also west of Destin, moving east and west, unfortunately. I mean, I like to see all the fish moving to the east. But in our clear waters, you want to use a lighter leader, maybe 50 or 60 pound, a 5 to 6 aught, 7 aught circle hook, and then a live bait. And just let those fish come to you. Early in the season, the fish are not necessarily all the bigger ones, 40 to 50 pounders, but there are some bigger ones as well. And then moving offshore, it's been a bit rough, and there's not a whole lot for those guys to fish for offshore because of the closures. So it's still going back to king mackerels and the vermilion snappers. And the kings are being caught outside the passes along the sea buoys, along those entrance buoys, and also over those nearshore wrecks and reefs around the bait schools. Especially if you find some bait schools hanging out in 80 to 90 feet of water around some mid-water structure, chances are you're going to find some king mackerels. The past week in that high winds and choppy conditions, that southeast wind seems to be the better bite. Slow troll some live baits around the structure, And if you're not getting bait or bites on the surface, use a downrigger or use a trolling lead to get that bait down. Sometimes you're going to catch a whole lot more king mackerels down deep, 20 or 30 feet. Most of those kings are running 7 to 10 pounds. And then the vermilion snappers, that's the other fish that are being targeted in a big way offshore. And they're on pretty much most of the bottom structure in 90 to 150 feet of water, and use a 2-hook chicken rig baited with either cut squid or cut bait. Not only do they seem to be very plentiful right now, but there's also a good grade of them. Most of those charter boat guys and head boat guys, they're letting go the smaller legal fish just to get a better grade of keeper fish. And, those are one of our better eating snappers that we have up here.
All right, Pat, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore redfish, St. Andrews Inlet. For big redfish, try the bottom with bait on the incoming tide, and then on mid-water, fish with bait or lures on the falling tide. And then offshore, king mackerel on the nearshore wrecks, reefs, and fads off of Destin, 60 to 100 feet of water.
We're oming here. Rick, look at you in Indian style. So proud, so proud.
I can't move.
I can't move.
Hurry
If
up,
you're,
get to a commercial
if you're in the
break, for
east
God's
region of
sakes.
Florida, yes, I said the east region in case you didn't hear me, which also includes the Lake O bass bite. You're going to want to hang out for just a little bit longer because we are coming to you next. Only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Ready, Rick? Set.
I'm ready.
Spike! Oh, you missed it.
I didn't. I set it up
Not
for
you.
you.
The
they
Chevy
did.
Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Flagler Construction Equipment, your exclusive Takeuchi dealer. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled, and finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. US News Best Car for the Money. 10 Best blah blah blah. 2016.
Only about 90 more to go.
That's a lot of awards.
Find your tag and get 20% below MSRP on select Malibu vehicles in stock. That's $5,200 on this Chevy Malibu. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about launching and loading your boat. Now, Power Pole shallow water anchors are great out on the water, but they're very handy for launching and loading your boat, especially if you're fishing on your own. For launching, back your boat into the water, launch the boat, then pull it around and put the power poles down. While you go, park your truck. It's really that simple, guys. For loading your boat, pull your boat up to the shore, power pole down, get into the truck into position, and then come back, get in the boat, and load it up. This is especially handy for launches that don't have a dock. But if it does, you can use the same process, just pull up to the dock instead of the shore. Our next power pole tip is going to be about the drift paddles. That's today's power pole tip. People think, Bree, that the power poles are just for fishing. And every day we're creating new ideas and new things and different ways to use them. And that's what's so exciting about that product.
They're very versatile.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, when it comes to bonefish in the East region, if you end up catching one, I guess they're going to be pretty small, like the one I caught in my cast on accident. It was about this big, right, Holiday? This big.
That's pretty common, Bree. Most of the bonefish that are caught in my region, they come as incidental catches when targeting pompano, sheepshead, or croakers. But there is, a handful of anglers that know how to go after them, and those anglers do pretty well. Places like the shoreline around Peanut Island and Palm Beach, in the surf off Greg Norman's house and at Hope Sound Public Beach, also in the crossroads in Stewart and around all the inlets. The species of bonefish we see in my region are not the same as the one in the Keys. They're smaller, they average a pound or two, but they do, fight just as well. And you can target them by wading or pulling the shorelines and sandbars near the inlets or by looking for schools of fish in 4 to 10 feet of water on the beach. In the shallows, the fish can be targeted with a live shrimp on a number 4 hook with a split shot or with a 1/16 ounce jig head. And in the deeper water, a live or cooked sand flea, a small crab, a shrimp, or a clam are the top bait. So that's our bonefish action. Now, for what else is going on, we're seeing big numbers of snook right now, but not a lot of big snook, with the exception of the North Fork of the St. Lucie River and also the Turning Basin and Taylor Creek areas of Fort Pierce. There's, less than a week left in the spring snook season, and the big fish are kind of conspicuously absent, although, there have been a good numbers of slop fish around. There's also been fish up in the Ermine River in Palm Beach County. Those are eating live mullet, and a good number of male fish that have already moved out onto the beaches. You can throw topwater plugs first thing in the morning, or a 5-inch saltwater sass and shad, and any of those pilcher colors. They'll also work late in the day, and then fish pilchers and mullet up against the seawalls and the docks in the middle of the day. Average snook right now is going to be 4 to 14 pounds. And I have a photo there. That's 9-year-old Cameron Bowen with a 35-inch snook he caught at the South Bridge in Fort Pierce. And that fish ate a red tail hawk jig.
You go, little man.
Awesome. Way to go, dude.
Look at that smile.
All right, let's go offshore, Bub.
Well, the kingfish bite continues to be strong throughout the region, although there's been some cold water pushing in and out of the beaches from Fort Pierce all the way down to St. Lucie Inlet. But those southeasterly winds we've had the last couple of days, and we should have through the weekend, will bring that warm water back in, and that'll get the bite going again. But for now, the best stuff's in 80 to 120 feet of water from the offshore bar all the way south to Boynton Inlet, and including the Loran Tower Ledge and the edge off Jupiter. And sardines have been available off Palm Beach County and in some of the deeper wrecks in southern Martin County, and they're just money on the kingfish right now. If you can't get sardines, live mullet, redfins, goggle eyes, they'll also work, as well as slow-trolled ribbonfish. There's been some good afternoon bites the last 3 of the last 4 days, which is great if you like to avoid the crowds. Rig up a 20-pound tackle, a number 3 wire stinger rig, and slow troll the baits, making a lot of turns. We talked about that last week if you watched the Kingfish Show. Average kingfish in my region is going to be 10 to 20 pounds. Now, the other thing we got going offshore, this has been one of the better spring runs of blackfin tunas that I've seen in the last 10 years. And while the fish are spread out through the entire region, southern Palm Beach County is probably the best place to target them. Get off the water tower in, 400 feet of water and start a drift into about 230 feet. Chum them with live pilchards, putting out a handful of them on, a 3/0 circle hook, a 3/0 VMC tournament circle, and a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. Blackfins are usually a bit boat shy, so get the baits out, 100 feet or more from the boat. A lot of times you'll see the blackfins leaping out of the water as they, chase your chum baits, and they start to come into your spread. You can also target them by trolling with a red and black or a silver Japanese feather, or by shotgunning a small ballyhoo on a monofilament leader way out behind the boat if you're trolling ballyhoo. Most of the blackfins are in that 12 to 20-pound range, but there are, a handful of fish over 30 pounds in the mix right now.
Hollywood, speaking about a mix, what's your bass report?
Well, super low water levels on Lake Okeechobee are really concentrating the bass in the deeper holes and along the outside edges of the grass lines. I was talking to Captain Mike Schoen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He was telling me the key to finding bass in the big lake is to look for good grass in deeper water. That means Kissimmee grass, eelgrass, peppergrass, even the open water hydrilla beds are holding a good number of bass right now. You can throw a white spinnerbait, a bass assassin, boss shiner, and that trickster or icebreaker colors that look a lot like shads, or crawl a logger toad through the grass for those big blowups. If numbers are your game, fish wild shiners around Harney Pond. Average trip right now, 30 to 50 bass to 8 pounds. So while the water's low, the bass fishing is still good. I got a photo there, and that is 15-year-old Zach Stuke with a big bass he caught on lake on a wild shiner.
Hey, man, great report this week, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the East region. Captain Mike says inshore big snook on the shorelines and seawalls of the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. Use topwater plugs and live mullet at dawn. And then offshore, cobias on the beach south of Fort Pierce. Look for the fish cruising on top and throw chartreuse jigs or live baits, Bree.
That was a big bass.
That was a big bass.
All right, there you have it, and you're welcome in advance because we've given you everything you'll need to have a great weekend on the water and an even better fish fry on Monday. But we're not quite done yet because after these short messages, we're telling you what fish we are fishing for next week right here on Kafiffer. We got you. Kafiffer.
Every truck guy has their own way of conveying powerful.
Yeah, boy. Kind of looks like a monster coming to eat you. Holy smokes.
That is awesome. Strong.
You got the basic and you got the beefy.
I just think it looks mean.
Incredible.
No way. Getting goosebumps.
It's the Chevy Memorial Day sales event. Find your tag and get over $9,300 total value on select Silverado crew cabs when you finance with GM Financial. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
When you're paid to put fish in the boat, you don't mess around with the thing that puts fish in the boat. Always use the best line.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes, special segments, and updated fishing reports from your region right on our homepage. Just head to ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. All right, guys, next week we are talking dolphin, mahi-mahi, dorado, my favorite.
I like them a lot.
So excited. So make sure to tune in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to check that out. And something else coming up, which is our favorite annual kids show on June 21st. We always have a great time here in the studio, and the kids get an educational and fun experience casting, knot tying, along with games, prizes, and more. And just, it's a ton of fun. So if you would like to be a part of that show and our live studio audience, head over to ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com and sign on up.
I have to bring Molly Moo down for that.
Yeah, please do. Guys, it's so much fun. They really do learn a lot, and it's great for them to be on camera. They might get famous one day, you never know.
Look what happened to you.
But, well, yeah, I was on a fishing show when I was little. Anyways, I wasn't. Before we take off, from time to time we get great questions from our viewers, and we have an Ask Captain Rick segment. So Rick, this question is from Mark Polakovich from Palm Coast, Florida. He says, growing up in New York, I always freshwater fished. I am now hooked on inshore saltwater fishing. In your opinion, what are the top 3 factors that make for a great day of catching fish? Tide, bait, water depth and temperature, moon, time of day, question mark?
Well, that's a great question, Mark. You know, and the key is that you need to understand one thing. Certainly tide, you got to have some current flow, otherwise the fish don't want to bite. The other thing that's certainly important is having fresh bait. You like to fish offshore, having a fresh bait, fresh live bait, fresh dead bait, that's the key to having good offshore fishing. Now, in regards to inshore, Dave made the point that certainly it's location, and he's absolutely right. Being at the right place at the right time, matching the hatch when you have crabs coming out of inlets or you have shrimp in the wintertime coming out of inlets. It's really important. Maybe mullet migrating down the coast, match that hatch. That's the key. So the three things that I'd say, tide certainly is important. Water temperature, not so much. Bait is certainly important, and then the location.
That's
you
four
can't catch my bait there.
Four
That's right.
things.
Hey, thanks
All
for
right,
the question,
guys,
Mark.
thanks for
Great.
tuning in. We'll see y'all next week for Dolphins.
Bye, guys.
Bye.